I think anybody in campus recreation who wants to do their job well is going to prioritize offering an inclusive environment. I think it is difficult to truly do your job well in a higher education environment and working with college students if you're not making proactive efforts to serve everybody as best as you can. And, I'm sure you guys have probably talked about the whole, it's not just having people in the room, it's having a seat at the table, and it's not just having a seat at the table, it's having a voice. And it's not just having a voice, it's actually being respected and listened to. It moves away from just that diversity piece and into the inclusion piece when you're not just making sure that people have an opportunity to be in your building, but they actually get to participate in a meaningful way that benefits them.
Well, I look back to my experience. I think it resonates at a really high level with me personally because I found a home in my university's campus recreation department, and it allowed me to flourish in all other areas of my student experience. So it was my stress relief when things were stressful in my academic setting. It was my physical health when I was spending a lot of time studying and sitting. So I think that in terms of how it affects every other facet of a student's life and success, we're trying to help the whole student. Being inclusive in our space is important that way. So not only from a physical access perspective, so if you have physical limitations, being inclusive for all physical abilities, but also cultural preferences, ethnic practices. I see us not only as a space for physical activity and exercise, but I see us as a community center too. We offer things like our instructional cooking classes. Every student on campus needs to eat. It's not necessarily a physical space. It's feeding all those other dimensions of the student's well-being.
If you're not exposed to the other, you're not learning anything. And, we all have stereotypes and we all have biases. And if the only information you have about someone else is what you see on TV or what you read about or whatever, you may carry that bias or stereotype. But I think in our field, we get to mix people. And sometimes it's a forced mix. And, for example, one of the goals we had was to have a really diverse student workforce at Campus Rec. And if your shifts, you have a 2 to 5 shift and I have a 2 to 5 shift, we're kind of forcing that inclusion. And I actually have to work with you and I have to learn about you. And for some of our students, being with someone who's different may be the first time they've ever done it. And so I think that's where it helps those who aren't in the marginalized world. It exposes them and it maybe breaks down some of those stereotypes and biases that they have. So.